man got on one knee in front of thousands of people in Turin, Italy last night, not to propose, but to swear loyalty to his tribal chief. And the crowd, they went absolutely wild for it. Welcome to Co-Pilot Podcasts. Today we are breaking down WWE Raw June 1, 2026, specifically Roman Reigns' acknowledgement ceremony with Jacob Fatu, the first round of the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, and a main event that ended with Paul Heyman getting speared through a barricade. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what went down, why it matters for where WWE is headed, and which moments are going to be talked about for weeks. I've got someone here who watched every single minute of this show, so let's get into it. What was the overall vibe walking into this Raw?
The vibe was electric, honestly. This was the fallout show from Clash in Italy, which happened the night before, and WWE was still in Europe. The show aired live from the Inalpi Arena in Turin, Italy, so you already had this incredible European crowd energy. And then the first thing on the card was the acknowledgement ceremony. Like, WWE did not waste any time.
Right, so for people who maybe missed Clash in Italy, what was the setup going into this Raw?
So, at Clash in Italy, Roman Reigns retained the World Heavyweight Championship against Jacob Fatu in a tribal combat match. And the stipulation was that if Fatu lost, he had to acknowledge Roman as his tribal chief. Fatu lost. So Raw was essentially Acknowledgement Day.
Acknowledgement Day. Roman literally said that on the mic. He said, there's no better day than Acknowledgement Day.
He did. And the crowd in Turin was already singing his entrance music before he even got to the ring. The results from Wrestling Headlines noted that the fans were chanting OTC and singing along, which is this whole fascinating thing because Roman is supposed to be playing a heel character here, but the Italian crowd was treating him like the biggest babyface on the planet.
That is such a weird and interesting wrinkle. Like, the whole bloodline dynamic is built on this idea that Roman is the authoritarian tribal chief who demands loyalty, but the crowd just loves him for it.
Yeah, and multiple outlets picked up on this. Yahoo Sports' coverage specifically noted that the crowd cheered Reigns, cheered G, and when Fatu finally arrived, they cheered him too. The writer literally said it felt like Bizarro World 2023. Everyone got babyface reactions.
So walk me through the actual ceremony. What happened?
So Roman comes out with Jimmy and Jey Uso. G immediately starts playing enforcer. He calls out Fatu, jokes that Fatu is already late on his first day on the job. And then Fatu makes his way down to the ring. Roman tells him not to drag it out. And then Fatu grabs the mic.
And this is where it gets really good, right?
This is where it gets really good. Fatu gives this speech, and the full transcript is in the Wrestling Headlines results, where he says he knew what he was getting into, he knew the consequences, and that he's been taking L's his whole life. He says his kids were watching him at Clash in Italy, watching their father be a man, take a loss, and keep his word.
That's actually a really compelling promo.
It is. And then he drops the line that everyone is going to be talking about. He says, and I'm quoting directly from the transcript, "Last night, I lost to my tribal chief, but I didn't lose to your punk-ass Jay." And then he gets on one knee and acknowledges Roman.
Wait, he said that directly to G's face? While acknowledging Roman?
Directly to G's face. And that one line does so much storytelling work. It tells you Fatu is not here because he respects Jay. He's here because he respects Roman. And that distinction is going to matter a lot going forward.
So there's already internal tension baked into this new bloodline from day one.
Exactly. And Roman's response to Fatu acknowledging him was, "You don't understand this right now, Jacob, but I love you." Which is very on brand for Roman. He's the tribal chief, he's paternal, he's dominant. And then Jimmy Uso closes it out by saying it's a warning shot to everybody in the locker room. They're the ones. Everyone else is the twos.
So the bloodline is officially back together. Roman, Jimmy, Jay, and now Jacob Fatu.
Back together. And Bleacher Report's coverage called it the start of a new chapter, which I think is the right framing. The bloodline story has been going for years at this point, but this specific configuration, with Fatu as the muscle who's loyal to Roman, but has friction with Jay, that's a new dynamic.
And there's also this backstage moment later in the show where Roman is talking to Jay and basically gives him a mission, right?
Yes, this is one of the most important moments of the whole show from a storytelling standpoint. Roman pulls Jay aside backstage and tells him he needs to win the King of the Ring tournament. And then he says, "Go to SummerSlam and take the undisputed WWE Championship." He tells Jay he's had the World Heavyweight Championship before, but he's never tasted the other one. He needs Jay to level up.
So Roman is essentially building a bloodline army with a very specific end game. Get the WWE Championship back into the family.
That's exactly it. And there was also a brief clip shown of Roman running into Cody Rhodes backstage after Clash in Italy. Roman says he'll get to Cody later. So the implication is clear. Roman has his eyes on the undisputed WWE Championship, and he's using G as the vehicle to get there.
Okay, so let's pivot to the tournament matches, because the King of the Ring first round was apparently something else. Oba Femi, Penta, Carmelo Hayes, Solo Sikoa, Fatal 4-Way. What happened?
So Obafemi is coming into this match the night after taking 7 F5s from Brock Lesnar at Clash in Italy and losing. So there's a real question of how he bounces back. And the answer is he bounces back by being an absolute monster.
7 F5s. That's not a match, that's a beatdown.
It really was. Lesnar hit him with 7 F5s according to the results. And Femi even referenced it in his post-match promo. He said, Obafemi, what do you do after taking 7 F5s? I'm standing, I'm winning, I took your best shot, and I'm still here. And then he called Lesnar a coward and said it's 1-1, he'll see him down the line.
So Femi is already setting up a rematch with Lesnar while simultaneously being in the King of the Ring tournament. That's a lot of irons in the fire.
It is. But in terms of the actual match, Femi was dominant. The Wrestling Headlines transcript shows him doing a double chokeslam, toss slams onto the Italian announce table, and he finished Solo Sikoa with his fall from grace finisher to get the pinfall victory.
And Solo had Tala Tonga with him at ringside, right? From MFT?
He did. And the MFTs actually tried to interfere. They drove Femi face first into the ring post. Tonga hit him with a running boot to propel him over the barricade. But Femi came back and clotheslined Tonga before finishing Solo. According to the official WWE results page, Femi laid waste to the interfering MFTs outside the ring before hitting the fall from grace.
So Femi advances in the King of the Ring. And this is interesting because Solo Sikoa is also connected to the Bloodline storyline. He's been on the opposite side of Roman, so there's layers here.
There are layers. And the Heavy.com preview noted that Solo's presence in the tournament was interesting, specifically because of the bloodline tension. At the end of Clash in Italy, Solo and MFT were staring down the bloodline. Roman even hinted at a potential civil war. So Solo losing in the first round of King of the Ring is a significant development.
Now let's talk about the Queen of the Ring first round, because Io Sky winning that match was apparently a highlight of the show.
Io Sky versus Roxanne Perez, Julia, and Lash Legend. And this match had a lot going on. Julia and Perez briefly tried to form an alliance. Legend was hitting double power bombs, and Sky was doing her thing with the speed and agility. But the finish was Sky hitting her over the moonsault on Julia to get the pin.
And the official WWE results page confirmed Sky advances to the semi-final round.
Correct. And there was some interesting backstage fallout. Roxanne Perez was venting about losing, and Liv Morgan showed up in the Judgment Day clubhouse saying she already got her head fitted for the crown. Raquel told her to read the room. Liv's response was essentially that Judgment Day doesn't pout, they take opportunities.
That Liv Morgan line is very on brand. She is relentlessly confident.
She is. And Liv is in the next round of the tournament next week in Paris, France. She'll be in a fatal 4-way against Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, and Chelsea Green. So the Queen of the Ring bracket is stacking up.
Paris, France next week. WWE is really leaning into this European tour.
They are. And on the men's side, next week, it'll be Seth Rollins taking on Jevon Evans, Ricky Saints, and Tala Tonga in another King of the Ring first round fatal 4-way. So Rollins is in the tournament too, which is interesting given what happened in the main event tonight.
Okay, let's get to the main event. Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker. This was apparently a banger.
CBS Sports gave it an A grade, and reading through the match transcript, it absolutely earned it. These two beat each other up all over the Inalpi Arena. Breaker threw Rollins into the crowd. They were fighting on the Italian announce table. Rollins hit 2 pedigrees. Breaker hit multiple spears. It was a war.
And Paul Heyman was at ringside causing chaos the whole time.
Heyman was doing Heyman things, distracting the referee, putting Breaker's foot on the rope to break a pin, talking smack to Rollins. And Austin Theory also ran interference and clocked Rollins with a tag team title belt. But Montez Ford came out to even the odds. He hit a somersault plancha over the ring post, though Breaker speared him on the floor.
So how does it end? Because the finish sounds absolutely chaotic.
It is chaotic, and it's kind of perfect. Heyman keeps interfering, so Rollins goes after him outside the ring. Breakker tries to spear Rollins from behind, but Rollins pulls Heyman in the way, and Breakker drives Heyman through the ringside barricade. According to the official WWE results, Breakker inadvertently speared Heyman through the barricade.
Breakker speared his own manager through a barricade.
Through the barricade. And then Breakker is furious. He charges at Rollins again with another spear, but Rollins was holding a tag team title belt against his chest as a shield. Breakker runs directly into the gold, knocks himself out, and Rollins hits the curb stomp for the pinfall victory.
That is such a satisfying finish. Heyman's interference literally backfired and cost Breakker the match.
And CBS Sports noted that after the match, Rollins mocked Roman Reigns' finger to the sky gesture and signaled to his waist, suggesting his next target is the World Heavyweight Championship. So Rollins is done with Breakker and the Vision, and he's pointing at Roman.
Which makes sense, given that Roman is now telling G to go after Cody's title. So you've got Roman building his army on one side, and Rollins signaling he's coming for Roman on the other.
The chess pieces are moving. And CBS Sports actually pointed out that Rollins has a pretty impressive resume against Reigns. He won their Royal Rumble 2022 match by disqualification and won their WrestleMania 41 triple threat match. So this is a rivalry with real history.
There was also a Sol Ruca championship celebration segment in the middle of the show that I want to make sure we touch on, because she just won the Women's Intercontinental Championship at Clash in Italy.
Yes, Sol Ruca came out for a celebration with Kathy Kelly, and the Turin crowd was chanting, "You deserve it." And Ruca gave a really good promo. She said she believed she could be a champion, and the fans believed in her too. She gave credit to Becky Lynch, acknowledged that Becky didn't think she was ready, but said she proved her wrong.
And she's been on Raw for less than a month at this point, right? That's a fast rise.
Kathy Kelly literally asked her that. She said, "Did you ever think that less than a month after officially joining Monday Night Raw, you'd be standing here as a champion?" And Ruca said it's been a dream come true. And then Lyra Valkyria showed up backstage and basically challenged her for the title, said she'd be honored to defend against the first person to ever hold it.
So Lyra Valkyria versus Sol Ruca for the Women's Intercontinental Championship is being set up.
It's being set up. And there was also the LA Knight and Adam Pearce confrontation backstage that was genuinely entertaining. Knight accused Pearce of playing favourites with the Bloodline. He asked Pearce if he was feeling UC, joked about getting him an honorary UC t-shirt. Pearce pushed back and said he was just having a conversation with the World Heavyweight Champion.
Knight asking Pearce to throw the ones up to the sky is a very funny image.
It is. And Knight's point is actually valid from a storytelling standpoint. Pearce did say that Jacob Fatu is a liability, which suggests Pearce isn't fully on board with the new Bloodline arrangement. So there's a GM subplot brewing here too.
Okay, so stepping back from all of this, what's the big picture takeaway from this Raw?
The big picture is that WWE used this show to do exactly what a post-PLE Fallout show should do. It paid off the stipulation from Clash in Italy, it launched 2 major tournaments, and it set up the next several months of storytelling. The Bloodline is back together with a new member and a new mission. The King and Queen of the Ring are underway with SummerSlam as the destination.
And the crowd reaction issue is interesting. Multiple outlets noted that the Bloodline is getting cheered even though they're supposed to be heels. Does that undermine the storytelling?
It's a real tension. Yahoo Sports specifically called it WWE's one glaring issue. The crowd refuses to boo the Bloodline. But I'd push back slightly on framing it as a problem. The Bloodline is compelling because the characters are genuinely interesting, not because they're doing evil things. Fatu's speech about taking L's his whole life and keeping his word, that's not a heel promo, that's a human promo.
That's a really good point. The crowd is responding to the authenticity of the characters, not the alignment.
Exactly. And Yardbarker's coverage noted that Fatu's character has taken a complete 180. He was positioned as a potential new face at the top of the card going into his title match, and now he's in a subordinate role. But the way he handled the acknowledgement with that line to Jay keeps him from looking weak. He's not a lackey, he's a man who keeps his word.
And Roman's line, "You don't understand this right now, Jacob, but I love you," that's not a villain line. That's a patriarch line.
It's a patriarch line, and that's what makes Roman so hard to boo. He genuinely believes he's doing right by his family. The Bloodline isn't a gang, it's a family with a very strict hierarchy. And when you frame it that way, the audience connects with it even when they're not supposed to.
So here's what this really comes down to. This Raw was a show that did its job on every level. The acknowledgement ceremony delivered emotionally and set up future conflict. The tournament matches established Obafemi and Io Sky as serious contenders, and the main event gave the crowd a satisfying finish while pointing the compass toward what's next.
And the thread connecting all of it is Roman Reigns. He opened the show by receiving Fatu's acknowledgement. He was referenced in the backstage segment with Rollins signaling he's coming for him, and he gave Jay a mission that points directly at SummerSlam. Roman didn't wrestle a single match on this show, but he was the gravitational center of the entire episode.
That is the mark of a truly elite character. You don't need to be in every segment to be the most important person in the building.
And that's what makes the Bloodline story so durable. It's been going for years, it's been through multiple iterations, and it still generates this kind of reaction. Cageside Seats called this episode a show where WWE hit it out of the park in the first show following Clash in Italy. That's a strong endorsement.
All right, final thought. If you're watching Raw next week in Paris, what are you most excited to see?
Honestly, Seth Rollins in the King of the Ring tournament. He's going up against Jevon Evans, Ricky Saints, and Tala Tonga in another fatal four-way. And given that he just signaled he's coming for Roman's title, winning King of the Ring would be a massive accelerant for that storyline. If Rollins wins the tournament and gets a SummerSlam title shot against Roman, that's a match with years of history behind it.
And on the women's side, Liv Morgan in the Queen of the Ring against Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, and Chelsea Green. That's a stacked, fatal four-way.
Stacked is the right word. And Liv already told Roxanne Perez that Judgment Day doesn't pout, they take opportunities. So she's going in with full confidence. Whether the crown ends up on her head or someone else's, that match is going to be must-watch.
So here's the thing. Jacob Fatu got on one knee in Turin, Italy, and in doing so, he didn't just acknowledge Roman Reigns. He drew a line in the sand between himself and Jey Uso that is going to define the next chapter of the Bloodline story. Obafemi reminded everyone that taking 7 F5s from Brock Lesnar doesn't break you, it just makes you one. And Seth Rollins walked out of Italy pointing at the World Heavyweight Championship. This Raw was 2 hours and 32 minutes of WWE firing on all cylinders. If you haven't watched it yet, go find it on Netflix. And if you have, you already know. That's it for today's episode of Co-Pilot Podcasts. We'll see you next week from Paris.